Ghana and Kenya, Ghana and another country, Zambia and another country, and then gradually we'll build it up. Indeed, President Obasanjo has spoken to me, and we came up with an idea of forming the League of Nations for Free Movement of African people. And so far, he suggested 8 countries to begin. And as other countries agree, they can come and join. And so we'll have visa-free for all the 8 countries within the league. And so we can travel to each other's countries without a visa. And gradually other countries will join. Because if you want to wait for the protocol on free movement, it will take forever. And so that's one of the MOUs that stands out for me. The other one is the agreement on standards between our Ghana Standards Authority and the Standards Authority in Zambia. And one of the hindrances to fully realizing the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is the difference in standards. And so we need to harmonize our quality standards, including phytosanitary and all that, so that we know that if the Zambian Standards Authority declares something as approved by the Zambian Standard Authority, it will be just as good as if the Ghana Standards Authority approved it. It will make it easier for us to exchange goods, because once we get an import from Zambia and it has the stamp of quality of the Zambian Standards Authority, it's as well as if our Standards Authority did it. And so you don't need to take the product to our Standards Authority to test again to find out if it meets our quality standards.
That's President Mahama there in Zambia. He also indicated that beyond the recent local gold refinery agreement signed between Gold Board and the Gold Coast Refinery, there's also a plan to begin the local refinery of 2 other major minerals, bauxite and manganese.
You know, when President Kuma said we need to show to the world that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. And so we must learn to manage our own affairs. And in all that is the issue of national sovereignty over our natural resources. The colonial period where, you know, our resources were pillaged and just sent away, you know, without any real value coming back to us, must change. I mean, we must take more control of our resources. We must make more out of our resources. We must add value to our resources before we export. We cannot continue to be exporters of raw material and then they go add value to it. They take copper out of Zambia. They go use the copper, produce finished products, and bring the finished products back to Zambia at 1,000 times the cost of the copper ore that they took. Same with Ghana. Manganese, bauxite, and all that are taken in their raw form, and they're used to produce items that are brought back to us at 1,000 times the price. And so in Ghana, we are changing the narrative. We are asking to ban export of raw bauxite and raw manganese. And we've asked the mining companies to set up the refining plants to refine the ore into at least primary processed products before they are exported. With bauxite, we want the full value chain, you know, from the ore to the alumina production, and then to the Valco aluminium smelting, so that we bring it out in its purer form for use as engine blocks for aeroplane manufacture and all that kind of thing. We started with gold. You saw there was a signing ceremony with Gold Coast Refinery to refine 1 ton of gold a week, which amounts to about 52 tons of gold a year. Our total production from the small-scale mining sector is 104 tons. So if we are refining 52 tons, it means half our production from the artisanal and small-scale mining is going to be processed and refined before we export the refined gold, which has a higher value than when you export the raw bullion, they call it Dory gold. And then when you refine, you're able to get silver, nickel, and other, you know, metals that are associated with gold.
That's President John Mahama there. Let's still stay in Lusaka and speak to our presidential affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba. Maxwell, we'll come to the Fugu episode that has dominated social media. But first, tell us about the big announcement of the 20 billion US dollars foreign reserve move announced by the president.
Yes, Ken. Like you rightly mentioned, President Mahama says Ghana is aiming to increase its foreign exchange reserves to more than $20 billion over the next 3 years. And he says this is to help shield the economy from future global shocks, such as financial crisis, pandemics, and other unforeseen incidents. He explained that strengthening foreign reserve is only part of the bigger plan, stressing that government must also ensure a business-friendly environment that raises incomes and creates more opportunities for citizens.
Things we need to do is to build our foreign reserves, which is what we're doing in Ghana. In 1 year, we've moved our reserves from $8.9 billion to $13.4 billion in 1 year. We want, over the next 3 years, to increase our reserve position to beyond $20 billion, so that if anything happened, we would have enough buffers in terms of our reserves to be able to tide over whatever shock it is. And so I think that one of the things to do is to build the foreign reserves.
Max, let's now talk about the Fugu controversy that has drawn the two presidents into the debate there as well. Tell us more.
Well, I asked President Mahama what he makes of this new smoke wave that he has inspired. And he said Ghanaian smoke weavers have received an unexpected boost following renewed interest in the traditional attire. He stated that he was surprised the Fugu did not attract similar attention when he wore it to the United Nations General Assembly in September. He also revealed that he exchanged gifts with Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema during the visit. He said he received a traditional Zambian carving while he presented President Hichilema with the Fugu. And this has been given us the cultural significance and the history behind the Fugu.
Your Excellency, if I don't ask this question, I'm sure our compatriots and then of course Zambians who are watching us right now will not be happy with me. You've triggered a new wave. It's a Fugu revolution in Ghana right now. A lot of Ghanaians have posted pictures of themselves in smoke. Today at the Independence Square, renowned photographer Yao Pare is organizing a free photo shoot for all the people who in smoke who come to the Independence Square. One of my colleagues, Ajoy News Hits FM, he launched a Web Fugu Friday just yesterday and is receiving a lot of reviews. I want to find out from you. You have always been a supporter of Made in Ghana, and in fact, it was actually part of your campaign message, and you've made a conscious effort to always wear locally made clothes. What do you make of the new smoke wave that you've inspired?
Okay, it's called the smoke in English, but in our language, some people call it fugu, some call it batakari. Yeah. Now, this is a traditional dress that is made by a local industry. It's part of our culture, and so in the past, it was worn by kings, royalty, and also warriors. When our warriors were going to war, they wore smokes, and the belief was that the smokes were soaked in some herbs, and then some spiritual thing was done. So when you fire a bullet, it can't penetrate, you know. And so the smoke portrays a lot of things in our culture. And significantly, on the day Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence, on the day our independence was declared, our president, Kwame Nkrumah, was wearing a smoke. He and all the freedom fighters were wearing smoke. So smokes have become an integral part of our cultural identity. And I want the smoke to the United Nations, the highest platform in this world. I'm surprised that Zambians didn't see me in a smoke last September.
Come closer.
Yeah, when I gave the speech that everybody's talking about, I was wearing a smoke. I'm surprised that they didn't notice it till I visited Zambia. But the smoke weavers in Ghana will be very happy because I, by power of social media, have giving them branding and marketing that they couldn't ever have dreamed of ever getting. And I'm sure that by the time I leave here, the number of searches for Fugu, Batakari, and smoke, is going to be quite high. And it was just because of an innocuous statement. People were commenting about my arrival. And one person said, "Oh, but what blouse is he wearing?" That's it. And it triggered a whole social media firestorm.
And Maxwell, what is the president up to between now and tomorrow when the visit is supposed to end?
Well, Ben, it was a 3-day state visit. It ended today. The president departed the Kenneth Kaunda airport just about 2-3 hours ago, where the Zambian president Hichilema himself was there. There was a presidential salute, and then President John Mahama, inspected the guard of honor and then exchanged pleasantries with the Ghanaian delegation that came on the visit. I'm talking about the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Education Minister Haruna Idrisu, Government Communications Minister Felicity Sokwache, the Gender Minister as well, Dr. Agnes Momulati, and many other top dignitaries. He exchanged pleasantries with them, and then also exchanged pleasantries with the Zambian government officials before boarded the plane together with the First Lady of Ghana and then departed to Accra. So the state visit has ended and President John Mahama is on his way back to Accra. Ken.
Maxwell Akbagba is our presidential affairs correspondent all the way from Lusaka, Zambia. Let's go down to the telephone lines right now and speak to Richard Echampon. He's the Vice Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee. Richard, grateful for your time this evening. Has the Finance Committee seen any detailed plan showing how government will raise reserves up to $20 billion by 2028? Or would you say this target is largely aspirational at this stage?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. A good evening to our cherished listeners. And very soon, the President will appear before the House to present the State of the Nation address. So all these details will be captured in that very document so that the members will get opportunity to peruse it, debate it, so that we take an informed decision so that we can support the government to achieve those set targets. But if you listen carefully to the President, he mentioned that he met a reserve of 8.9 billion, which has been moved to 13.4 billion. So even if you want to do strict mathematics, a difference of 4.45 billion within a year. So if you multiply it even by 3 years of us, you're looking at 13.35 billion, all things being equal. So other interventions that are coming on board and tell you clearly that even if you are able to work hard around the clock, you can even exceed the 20 billion you talk about. It's not about saying it. We need to walk the talk. We need to put more effort in so that by the end of the day, we can stabilize this economy. Now that the city is stabilized, inflation is coming down, goods and services are also coming down. It is to the benefit of all of us, not NDC or MPP fraternity. So, looking at the numbers and how the economy is failing, I can tell you it is possible.
Richard, you've been giving us some numbers, but is Parliament prepared to amend or block government proposals if the numbers don't add up? Or Parliament will simply rubber stamp this reserve revolution that the President is talking about?
Far from that, my brother. You know, a lot happens at what they call the committee level, which the media is not aware. That's why this ninth parliament, leadership of the majority have taken it upon themselves to set up our own TV channel. And we have about 3-4 committees that we can carry committee proceedings live. So that we invite the media, they will just sit through the meetings so that all the deliberations, they will capture it and then publish them so that people will know what happens at the committee level. Of late, you've heard our brothers from the other side complaining that the electoral certificate of urgency bills passed and the rest. When committee meet and they get to know that we have more than 200 or 300 amendments, it doesn't make economic sense to bring this to the floor to go through all the amendment processes. So what we do is we advise the sponsors of the bill, withdraw it, incorporate all the proposed amendments from both sides so that a new bill is presented. So we can take it a day or two. So a lot of things are presented to committees. We raise issues with it. We do amendments. We do the corrections. And the sponsors do agree with us because we have technical people on the committee. So it's not like anything that the executive presents to the House, we rubber stamp it because of the numbers. No. We have our integrity to protect. We did not just come to Parliament for the sake of it. Some are bankers, accountants, engineers, teachers, every profession we can find here. So many people have different perception about members of Parliament, but it's far from that. There's no rubber stamping.
Okay.
We do diligent work in the House. But the media is not aware of many of the things we do, apart from the plenary.
Interesting. There's already been questions about how feasible this is going to be, but you are giving us an assurance. But is there a clear time-bound roadmap, with milestones toward the 2028 reserve target? And I want to find out how government or parliament will hold the executive accountable if those benchmarks are missed.
Every year and mid-year, agencies will present their report to Parliament, how they are faring. And going through the new standing orders of Parliament, there are sensitive committees being chaired by the minority. For example, Budget Committee is chaired by the minority. The mandate of the Budget Committee is for budget preparation, budget implementation, and budget execution. So, minority is in charge of this committee. They can start questions, they can ask every question from the ministries, agencies, and the presidency, because the mandate is to liaise with the executive for budget preparation, budget presentation, and budget execution. So if such a sensitive committee is being chaired by the minority, that comes in the rubber stamping. Or what is the question that we can hold the executive to accountable, or accountability will be a challenge? No, we design our new standing orders to make sure there's value for money and the executive will be accountable to the legislature. So we have gone past that stage.
Right. Richard, let's talk about the potential ban on export of raw minerals. If banning raw mineral exports leads to job losses or legal disputes with mining firms, is Parliament ready, really, to take responsibility for the economic fallout, potential economic fallout, I should say?
We've been complaining about our exports over the years, that we export everything in the raw state, including cocoa. CPC, what's the percentage of the cocoa they process in this country? All the chocolate that you found in the street, about 90% are imported. So if you want to add value, if you want to stamp your gold, indicating to the world that this quality gold is coming from Ghana, certified by Gold Board, Bank of Ghana, and Standard Authority, is giving Ghana an image out there, like we have quality cocoa being sold to the world. And if you're adding value, my brother, the value chain itself will create a lot of employment for our youth. So it's the way to go. We can't be exporting everything in the raw state, and we come back to complain about youth unemployment. Whereas, if we're able to develop the value chain, we're going to create a lot of employment for our teeming youth who are fighting for jobs.
Okay, so you mean that that's a good policy and that's implementable as well?
It is. And now the infrastructure that they've set up, I heard the CEO say they are doing this to encourage other businesses to also set up refinery in the country. It's the way to go. We can't be exporting everything in the raw state. We need to add value so that we, within the value chain, we create employment, we create value, and we get what it is. So that by the end of the day, one, we market the nation out there, we create the kind of revenue that we want for national development, so that our image will also be there. You go to Switzerland, you pick a watch, you ask of the price, and they tell you the farmers in Italy that can buy this watch. Do you know what they are communicating? They are telling you it's good to do farming in Italy.
Right. So, Richard, is that to say that in the short to medium term, this policy could temporarily, reduce export earnings and reserves before the benefits really start kicking in?
We need to put everything together, do proper assessment, look at the data, but we need all hands on deck. It's not about NDC alone. The media also has a role to play, so that by the end of the day, we can make sure that there's value for money, and we voted for something that all of us are benefiting from. The researching agenda is part of all these things.
Right, thank you very much. Richard Echampon is the Vice Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee and also the MP for Bia East there. You're still listening to a top story here on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and across our various affiliates in the country. We're trying to get the minority to pick a word or two from them as well as to whether they back the president's recent assertion that our reserves is likely to shoot up to $20 billion by 2028 there. The president has also been making a number of claims in his trip to Zambia. One of them is that there's going to be a ban on the exportation of bauxite and manganese as well. Let's bring in Dr. Tia Kabiru. He's a member of the Finance Committee in Parliament. Grateful for your time, Dr. Kabiru. This is what the president is saying. He hopes that reserves is going to shoot up to as much as $20 billion by the time he leaves office in 2028. From the minority's point of view, is that feasible?
Oh, that's very feasible. That the government is committed to building our foreign reserves. It's not a policy decision or, if you like, a monetary policy that is such that for the president and for their record over the past 1 year gives every reasonable Ghanaian and any follower of the Ghanaian economy to treat such a statement with a pinch of salt. Admittedly, it's an attainable monetary policy, but the president record over the 1 year doesn't show that it is something he can achieve as a president.
Right, and what do you see as the biggest economic risks to this?
Well, so you cannot build reserves when you continually prop up your currency or auction hard currency in order to support your city. Imagine if this government was not supporting the Ghanaian city every month by $1 billion United States dollars. For the past 1 year, we'll be doing no less than $10 billion in our reserves. And that is irony. You cannot be depleting our foreign reserves to support your currency and at the same time promising us that you want to build the foreign reserves. Just imagine the good reserve that the NPP had accumulated. They have depleted that. In fact, they have reduced holding by half. And that is converted as part of our foreign reserves. You don't hold the reserves in dollars. You hold it in convertible commodities, i.e. goods. And so if you put your gold together, put your dollar reserves together, that should tell you the sense of your foreign reserves in total. And the greatest risk for this government is the depletion of our reserves by supporting the Ghanaian cedi with the reserve. The second threat is that you are hoping that commodity prices are going to increase. In a commodity-dependent economy like Ghana, if there's any crash in commodity prices, you cannot attain such a peak. Likely now we are having record prices for gold.
Do I have Dr. Kabiru on the line? Yes.
Yeah, right now we are having record prices for gold and silver, probably copper. These commodities can help you, build the reserves. But when there's any crash in commodity prices, i.e. the goods, we are going to suffer. We are already seeing the real effect of that in the cocoa sector. Cocoa prices are anything to go by. Oil prices have reduced. As at the beginning of 2025, we were doing around $66 per barrel. Now we are doing around 60. So these are the real threats to that particular promise made by the president.
And speaking of precious minerals, the president also said that there's going to be a ban on manganese and bauxite very soon. I want to pick your thoughts briefly on that as well.
But those are not the real problem. The real problem we are having is the illegal mining of gold. And I was thinking that the president would be speaking to that. Why do you go for low-hanging fruit when the real challenge, is gold? I don't know the number of people who are doing illegal mining of manganese. It's not widespread like we have in the case of gold. So I think that the president is only running around the key issue. The key issue is illegal mining of gold. And the president, whether it's going to do.
Dr. Tia Kabiru, thank you very much. He's a member of the Finance Committee in Parliament. And earlier we heard from Richard Echampion, who is the Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee in Parliament and also MP for Bia East. This has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies, holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Kenneth Gyasi. Ghana Connect with Kweku Asante